What if the technology that trains airline pilots could help shape the next generation of professional truck drivers? This isn't science fiction, it is happening right here in McMaster University lab. Driver training is often hard to measure, especially when it comes to how people actually behave behind the wheel. There is no reliable way to track how a driver reacts under stress or how focused they are in real time. That's why we launched this study, to put motion-based training to the test. We wanted to know, do motion cues actually change how people drive or how they feel during training?
The question of using simulators effectively, or the effectiveness of simulators, is actually a very tricky question. And it is not directly answered by saying the more expensive, the better reality the simulator is, the better the training is. The key is really to evaluate the aspects you want to see and improve the driver in.
We brought in around 40 truck drivers and tested them in 2 different driving scenarios, highway driving and truck docking, in both motion and no motion setups using either a VR headset or a 3-screen display. And what we were hoping to learn about the driver's behavior was to understand how drivers adapt to realistic challenges, such as crosswinds in a virtual environment, especially how they react and adjust their steering behavior when physical motion feedback, which means the feeling of the truck actually moving, is present or absent. What we discovered is that motion cues do more than make the experience feel realistic. They actually influence how drivers respond. In highway conditions, steering behavior was more active and precise when motion cues were present. That's a big deal in high-speed driving training.
The effect of motion cues on driver is a very interesting one. The simplest thing to explain, if there's no motion cues, people tend to do much bigger motions, which might make your passengers completely sick. On the other side, if you have that feeling of moving a heavy machinery, more being afraid of that something bad could happen, then quite typically your movements are much more controlled. I think this is the key part. In flight simulation, the use of motion simulators is regulated very strictly. There are timing requirements, how the simulators have to look. There are different classes of timing simulators. On the other side, what you find is in car driving, such things are not regulated, and we will have simulators which do not follow the strict requirements which a flight simulator would do. We here take the approach of FAA approval, so we will characterize to the millisecond even the behavior of the simulator before we even start measuring humans.
The psychological metrics, the surveys that we use, such as simulator sickness questionnaire, user experience questionnaire, in their stress scales, they confirmed what we saw in behavior in their actual, like a steering control, in their driving performance, with or without motion feedback. They showed us how much participants experienced nausea or eye strain, and you could see it in their actual driving performance, how much the performance was affected by these conditions. When we had motion cues added, we noticed that eye strain, disorientation, nausea feedback, it dropped noticeably. And when it comes to how drivers rated the VR product, when motion cues were added, they found it more engaging, more stimulating, and more attractive. Many found it surprisingly realistic. Those in the motion setup described it as more intuitive and engaging. And a few even said it felt like the real thing. This is more than research. It's a blueprint for how we can improve driver training across Canada and beyond. And with continued support, we can scale this to create measurable impact on road safety, student outcomes, and training innovation. My message to policymakers and transportation leaders is that the research is here, the technology is ready, and the need is urgent. Simulation-based training is safer, scalable, and more adaptable than traditional methods. And with evidence backing it, it's a smart investment in both public safety and workforce development.
From our team at iMVR, I'd like to give a great, tremendous thank you to McMaster University and their support, their innovation, their collaboration that they have brought to us, but more so have brought through to the industry. Having the scientific research behind what we have has given us the stepping stone for our next project that is coming down the pipes very soon, and we're very excited to introduce.